There are many peoples through various kinds of illusions, sensory illusions. They are seeing world which is not the true world.
But what does it really mean to live under an illusion? Because if this were true, it would lead to a much more unsettling question. How could we ever know that we are living under an illusion if everything we know is part of it? We trust our eyes, our senses, our thoughts. And from them, we construct an image of the world that we take to be real. But our senses have limits. We can only perceive a small fraction of everything that exists.
When we see our bodies, our world, this house, this is because of our sensory capacity. This is nothing but mist or vibrations, massive vibrations, that's energy.
So, how much of reality are we actually seeing? And what might exist beyond the limits of our perception? This was one of the questions Michio Kushi spent decades trying to understand. And to do so, he had to begin with something even more fundamental.
What is this? This is appearing as body, but this is no body. Ghost, spirit. So spirit change into matter. Matter change into life. Life change into matter, life into spirit.
Have you ever felt that what you see, touch, and experience isn't the whole story? For thousands of years, Taoism, Buddhism, Hinduism, and Gnostic traditions held the same uncomfortable truth, that what we call reality isn't quite what we think it is. Not because the world doesn't exist, but because what we see, touch, and experience is only a tiny fraction of something much larger.
This we call relative world. This we call absolute world. You may call God, because omnipresence, omniscience, omnipotent.
And what was considered mysticism for centuries, quantum physics has begun to touch upon from a different angle. At its deepest level, matter behaves more like energy than something solid.
3,000 years ago, Greek philosopher Democritus, when he wanted to know the truth about life, truth of the universe, he divided this universe into two, space and matter, and then began what is matter, the search of the matter. 3,000 years later, discovered matter is something like ghost, non-matter, something like spirit, mist. We have come from infinite universe itself and came to this world, transforming, transmuting. So everyone knows, deep inside the subconsciously, deeply sub-memories, everyone was one.
The origin you don't remember.
We did not begin from mother's womb. Yes, conception began. Yes, beginning of human being, human form began that time. But before that, mother's egg, father's sperm. Before that, what mother ate, father ate, because they became their blood. Even father ate beef, cow eat grass. Grass change into cows, the meat. So we came from vegetable kingdoms, plant kingdoms.
Father, mother, food, cow, grass. Kushi does a reverse regression, and if you think about it, it's remarkably logical, almost obvious. But what if we keep rewinding? What do we find if we break down the plant world? What are the ultimate foundations of matter? That's precisely where his explanation strays from the conventional. And that's where things get genuinely strange. Because to answer a question as simple as, what are you made of, Kushi doesn't stop at atoms. He goes further back into a place modern physics itself struggles to describe, a place before matter even exists. And by the end of this, you'll see why he believed even your own thoughts right now are made of exactly the same thing.
These nature or elements, world of elements, huge world, however, didn't begin itself. They, as modern science knows, were composed and came from pre-atomic particles such as electron, proton. So origin of nature, origin of elements were pre-atomic particles, which has plus minus, which has in charge, yang charge in electricity, or tendencies. They, however, did not come itself. They were nothing but the center of massive energies, spiralic motion. That center, massive condensed energies that appear as particles. So vibrations, energies, is the origin of pre-atomic world. But this vibration energies have arise, which is entire universe vibration energies. Okay? How that is arising, how that move, how that change, because there are two polarities, two different tendencies.
For anything to exist, there must first be an impulse that creates momentum, an interaction capable of producing change and movement. And that impulse arises through polarity. For Michio Kushi, this is where the secret of all manifestation lies. From the primordial unity emerges a kind of cosmic breath, the birth of two fundamental tendencies that appear to oppose one another, yet in reality seek and complement each other. These seemingly opposing forces, when they meet and interact, give rise to vibration, transformation, and the ceaseless dance of life. The ancient traditions of the East called them Yin and Yang. This polarity is present at every level of reality, from the most fundamental aspects of nature to our own bodies, our minds, and our experience of life.
Plus minus, or yin and yang, alpha and omega. These two big different tendencies, opposite tendencies, yet complementary one. That is making motions, like right hand, left hand, right brain, left brain, right eyes, left eyes, right lung, left lungs, or breathing in, out, breathing in, or eating, taking in, then discharging out. These antagonistic complementary activities are nothing but one body manifest into two different ways. Same way, this throughout the universe, antagonistic complementary phenomena are all manifested as one infinite universe.
What Kushi is describing is an ancient insight. Reality manifests through polarities, two distinct tendencies, forces that can oppose, attract, separate, or complement one another. And it is precisely this difference that makes movement possible. Consider a simple analogy in electricity. When two poles carry different potentials, a voltage arises, allowing energy to flow. While yin and yang are not literally electrical charges, the comparison reveals the underlying principle Kushi points to. Where there is polarity, there is the potential for movement. Without differentiation, transformation cannot occur. If everything were identical, there would be nowhere for anything to move. Ancient observers perceived this dynamic long before the advent of modern science. Yet yin and yang are not merely two separate entities or independent forces locked in combat. They are dual aspects of a single reality. As the Kybalion states in its principle of polarity, everything is dual, everything has poles, everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Extremes meet. All truths are but half-truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled. This is why the symbol of yin and yang does not display two isolated halves. Each contains the seed of the other, carrying within itself the capacity for transformation. So far, Kushi has taken us from the food on your plate to the very fabric of vibration and energy. But remember the question we started with. How much of reality are we actually able to perceive? That question is about to get a very concrete answer.
Pre-atomic world to the world of nature we call world of matter. Plant world and man's world or animal world we call the world of biological life. And this is vibration energy. Part of that only we can detect, like cosmic rays, electromagnetics, or colors, lights, smells, etc., hearing, so forth. But huge part of this vibration energies, which entire universe itself actually, we can't detect. Only small, the infinitesimal point we are detecting now. Of course, behind that, yin and yang, we cannot see unless we use insight.
From the moment we are born, we learn to trust our senses. But that experience does not contain everything that exists. It contains only that which our organism is capable of perceiving. And this is where Kushi's vision takes on a much more spiritual dimension. Because perhaps the problem is not simply that our senses are limited, but that we ourselves end up limiting our experience of reality to what we can perceive through them, leaving an entire, far greater reality outside our awareness.
This non-phenomenal world. This is a world of spirit. Time and space exist in this world, but not this world. End and beginning and end exist in this world, but not this world. And all phenomena is born from non-phenomenal world. All non-phenomenal world, one non-phenomenal world, create billions, trillions, infinite difference of phenomena.
If we step back for a moment, we can begin to see the complete cosmology that Kushi is presenting here. At its deepest level, reality is not yet divided into forms. There is no matter, no individual object, no beginning or end, and no separation as we ordinarily understand it. There is only what Kushi calls the non-phenomenal world, the world of spirit, the infinite, the unmanifested. And from this formless reality, everything that we can perceive eventually emerges. It is almost as if the universe moves from the formless into form, from the invisible into the visible, from unity into multiplicity. The paradox is that what gives rise to all forms is itself without form. The infinite cannot be contained within any particular shape, and yet every shape emerges from it. And this is where the principle of polarity becomes fundamental. The one begins to differentiate. Opposite tendencies emerge: expansion and contraction, yin and yang. And through this division, the infinite begins to express itself in an endless variety of forms. Matter appears, stars appear, planets appear, plants, animals, and human beings appear. And then these forms interact with one another, creating ever more complex patterns of existence. What we experience as the enormous diversity of reality could therefore be understood as the result of an original unity expressing itself through increasingly differentiated forms. One becomes two become many, and the many interact to create the world we experience. But according to Kushi, this process does not move in only one direction. Everything that emerges from the infinite eventually returns to it. Forms appear, they exist for a time, and then they disappear back into the same infinite ocean from which they came, like waves rising from the surface of the ocean. For a moment, each wave appears to be something separate. It has a shape, a beginning, a duration, and an end. But the wave was never truly separate from the ocean. It was the ocean taking a particular form, and when that form disappears, the ocean remains.
Thought is nothing but vibration, thought, thinkings. So our body is vibration, energy, spirit. So our thinkings, same things. When you think here and there, you are dispatching the images. Okay? As if in the blue sky, you are creating clouds, white clouds, or dark cloud cover entire blue skies. You are creating. When you have no creation of image, enter into deep meditation. You are connected with blue sky. You are connected, non-relative one world. You may say God. Okay? But when you start to think, many crowds start to come. Then you lose connection. With that created your image, quite often you think those imaged world are true world, forgetting that you are actually creating.
Kushi now brings this entire cosmology into the most intimate place we know, our own mind. If our body is vibration and energy, then for Kushi, thought is also a form of vibration. And he gives us a simple image, a completely clear blue sky. Each thought is like a cloud appearing in that sky. Some are small and disappear quickly. Others grow until they seem to cover it completely. And perhaps this is also a way of understanding our everyday experience. We are constantly receiving impressions through our senses, interpreting them, connecting them with memories, and creating images from them. The problem begins when we become so identified with those images that we forget they are only images. We mistake the clouds for the sky. For Kushi, meditation can therefore become a way of returning to that deeper space. When the constant movement of thought becomes still and the images begin to disappear, we may experience what lies beyond the world of forms, the non-phenomenal, the infinite, what some traditions have called the absolute. The ego, then, could be seen as another cloud, a temporary form appearing within a much greater field. And when the cloud disappears, the sky does not disappear with it. The sky was already there. But there is a difficulty. Because in our everyday lives, most of the time we do not see the clouds as clouds. We mistake them for the sky. And it is precisely here that Kushi takes his reflection one step further.
90%, 99% of modern people are governed something strange delusion about life. Okay? Because of that, they are working as slaves, selling time, selling their lives into money. Okay? And when something comes, we think that the devils, okay, or that the enemies try to kill, try to destroy us. Okay? All wrong. Myself is real enemy. My abusement, my over pleasure seeking, my egocentric thinkings. My illusion, I am a good guy. Okay? So first, we have to wake up. We have to wake up from the nightmare of this battlefield, modern world.
But what is it that we need to awaken from? Perhaps, in part, from a life that we often live on autopilot. From the moment we are born, we are surrounded by ideas about who we should be, what we should desire, what success means, and what we supposedly need in order to be happy. Our family, education, culture, and society gradually leave us with a set of programs that we learn to follow almost without questioning them. We study to get a job. We work to earn money. We seek security to maintain what we have built. And many times, we end up giving a huge part of our lives to this cycle without stopping to ask ourselves where we are really going. Not because working, earning money, or building a material life has no value, but because we can come to confuse the means with the purpose. We can spend so much time reacting to external circumstances that we forget to look within and ask ourselves who we really are. And this is where Kushi's vision takes on its full spiritual dimension. If we are more than matter, if behind the forms there exists that non-phenomenal world from which everything manifested arises, if our own consciousness is capable of recognizing something beyond the limits of our senses and thoughts, then perhaps our existence is not merely a succession of material events. Perhaps there is something deeper behind our being here, a purpose we do not yet understand, an intelligence of which we are a part. From this perspective, awakening does not mean abandoning the world, but learning to live within it without becoming completely trapped by its illusions. To live more consciously, knowing that we are individuals, while at the same time belonging to something far greater than ourselves, something that transcends us. Ultimately, Kushi invited us to look beyond the conventional, to question what we take for granted, to investigate, to experiment, and to develop a deeper awareness of our own existence. And in this process, meditation plays a fundamental role. Because if we truly come from the same source, if behind all forms there exists a single reality, then living more consciously may also mean re-establishing a deeper relationship with that from which we came, with the Tao, with God, with the whole.
Gratefulness, appreciation from the heart, from the soul. That is the beginning of your happiness. Right? That is the beginning of your happiness. Beginning of awakening as real, happy, free human beings. Manifestation of God in this kingdom of heaven on this planet. Appreciation, gratefulness, thank you. Thank you very much.
That's all for today's video. Thank you very much for watching until the end. See you soon.